with MakingStarWars.net.
Hey everyone, I'm Jason Moore from MakingStarWars.net, and today we're going to be talking about Star Wars and Cassian Andor and other stuffs. I got late to the show today to do like the prep work or whatever, so I sent Rob the link, but I don't know if he got it. So maybe Rob will be here, maybe he won't. I don't know yet. I'm just finding out. I was on Star Wars Santa show all morning, having a good time. Yeah, and then I had this really dumb bright idea that I wanted to suggest this as the theme song to Skeleton Crew. Agree to disagree, I guess. Hey, Rob.
Music killed me.
I like that band. That should be fun. But how's it going, dude?
It's good. It's good. I got your link a little late.
Yeah, I was like went right from Star Wars Santa show to setting up and then sent you the link, the last minute. But we did it.
You Star Wars double dipping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Star Wars. Yeah.
I'm
Santa
exhausted. No, he's doing good. He wants to fight you though.
Can't I just push him down some stairs? Honestly, isn't like his chance of breaking his hip in the tub greater than like?
You really wanted? You want to fight him? You're like throwing out the whole thing. You're like doing the whole UFC like pre-weigh-in, gonna push each other stuff.
All I'm saying is that beard has to be dangerous in the shower. Like you get the wrong way, you trip on it, goes right down to your feet, right? Just
like a wet Wookiee.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
whatever. I would gladly get beat up by Santa just to tell all my friends about it.
I would watch Santa beat your ass. That'd be funny.
Yeah. Yeah. You and Santa can dress up like Jay and Silent Bob, and I'll be the Easter Bunny. And you can...
He's like, ooh, I always wanted to get that guy. Hey, Star Wars Fits. Thank you for being a channel member. And make sure everyone likes the video and subscribes to the channel. And if you want to support the channel, being a channel member is the best way. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Fitz, for doing that. But yeah. So we are still in that like quiet before the storm kind of place, that we've been in before, where we'll be in again. But at least we have a couple of things to talk about today, though. But this hit today, and it's this from Total Film, and it's a Total Film exclusive, and it's Andor, and he's like, he's ordering. I think what do you think he's ordering? Like a Pabst Blue Ribbon? I'll have a Pabst, please. But she looks a little Babylon 5 to me. Can't lie. I don't love the image. I don't know if I don't know why this is what they decided they would release.
Jason.
Really, we're gonna defend this one. Are we just picking sides now and picking sides?
Jason, she's not smooth. She actually has textures on her head. Is it Star Wars-y? Not as much, but then again, if I took the mouse from the canteen and ran them, look, there's actual texture. Look at that.
Yeah.
As opposed to smooth Inquisitor.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's not supposed to have texture.
Look, and then look, the texture goes down to her.
I mean, she got some pretty cool hands. Look at her hands. I mean, I'm not going to talk shit on Neil Scanlon. I mean, for the record, you know what I mean? We got the purple drink, but it looks like she has this like what is this thing? Is she like passing him something right here? Is that like some sort of like bomb or data device? It almost looks like a bomb, like one of those suction, like a handle with like a suction thing on it, but I can't tell. Do you see what I'm seeing? Like a handle right here. This is like the bottom is like the magnetized kind of section, and like the kind of thing that you like stick to like the side of a ship to blow it up or whatever. So I wonder if she's passing him.
It's probably an ice cream maker.
He's like, excuse me, miss, I would like some cream for my coffee. And she's like, here is the cream for your coffee.
Still has better lighting than Galactic Starship, Jason.
I think she kind of belongs on there. Meg was making a joke. No. Is she the lady from the Galactic, who sings the song?
Yeah, no,
a little bit.
No, this chick can't sing. I can tell.
Yeah, but and then we got Andor over here, who I am laughing at the fact that he's supposed to be younger, and he looks like twice as old with the beard and everything. The beard doesn't help really, is what makes him look older.
Jason's
but it also
just on
covers
full
it up.
Andor hate today, huh?
I'm not on Andor hate. Look right here. We got cute lady back here. Look at her. Like what you doing back there?
I thought it's Ms. Boca.
But yeah, it looks. I don't know. I mean,
I look forward to this critical eye on Kenobi season 2, Jason. You know what I'm saying? I like
what I'm
Jason.
no. What I'm saying
I'm a fan
is,
of it.
I'm just not. I just don't know if because we like the teaser trailer, and the teaser trailer looked nice, that we go, oh, this somehow is like night and day from what we got before. I just think if you had a problem with before, I don't know how this looks a little bit like what we've seen before. But I'm not really critical of that. I'm critical of the fact that Lucasfilm decided that this was like the still image to like share. There's got to be cooler things that they could have shown than what appears to be Andor getting purple drink. Like I said, I think she is obviously handing him something, that's like some kind of illegal
thing. Fingernails, huh? Mm-hmm. Doctored image fingernails, if you know what I'm talking about.
She got a little bit of a Princess Leia New Hope belt maybe going on here.
That's total film.
That's total film. Yeah, they also had like other exclusives, and it was like,
I can't wait for Jason to complain that there's no themes in the show, and
I mean, what themes could people possibly complain about that Andor doesn't have? You know what I mean? Oh, it should have had the Rogue One theme that nobody could recall. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe she'll be a big player in Jedi Savior, Jason. You don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's just like I said.
She doesn't have librarian glasses, right, Jason? That's the problem. Andor likes librarian glasses.
It helps. It helps.
She had those really big ones.
Those
really
I'm
big
just saying.
ones.
1994 Gene Garofalo. What's wrong with it? Nothing. That's what I say. But no, I'm just saying, like, it's like they do this. They get stingy with the stills. Like maybe this is super important, and we'll look back on it and be like, that was a really good still. That really was important. That really did matter. But I don't know, man. Like I said, not trying to be a huge downer, just a little bit like, come on, like show us something rad. If you're gonna give total film an exclusive, don't make it when he orders, his BL, his Bud Light. You know what I mean?
That's a purple Bud Light. I want one of those.
Yeah, and Star Wars Bud Light's purple. You don't know that? You didn't know about that?
Kind of looks like two butts if you look at the glass, right? It's a little vaginal buddy area. It's something down there.
What?
Yeah, that's what I see. See something not so right with that. Yeah. Maybe, you know what it looks like? Looks like I'm looking down on a Twi'leks. I'm looking down. What's up? How you doing?
It turns out Andor starts off as a raging alcoholic. We just don't know it. He's like, come on, man. Can I have a tab?
Be honest. That's what Spreezy looks like after he's eating a pizza.
Oh no, bloated. Is that bloated Spreezy?
He's just passed out on some Greek beach on his Instagram.
I've been playing tennis since I was 6 years old. But
Look, this is nothing new. When Solo came out, and we could all say that. I think the puppetry and the creature design in Solo is the best of all the films, even better than Rogue One, like better than Force Awakens. A lot of it was like, here's Lando's chilling out with my Muppets and like all dark and shit. And you're like, okay. And then the next one would be, some close up of Crimson Dawn chick in a room with some bokeh background. It's what they do. It's what they do.
I don't like it.
It's kind of what they do. Well, it's kind of a catch-22 though, right? Because if they show us that weird 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ending, they give you a big still of some giant then they're going to be like, the one at the end of Solo. Then the complaints will be, they're showing us too early. I want to be surprised. I love that one. I want no marketing. I want to know nothing. I just want it to drop.
Yeah, then don't click the fucking link that says exclusive Andor image,
Now let's give them some. But let's give them some credit, Jason. They didn't put it right on the dude's dick this time, which,
Yeah.
The Boba Fett one was like, I was like, are they trolling us? I feel like they're trolling us.
Yeah. That was pretty bad.
They could do? They could give us some frickers.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. A lot of the, I'd say the online discourse of criticism is like, oh, there's not enough aliens, but then people are like, oh, there we go. But I'm like, I don't know, man. Like when I think of like aliens, I'm thinking like, like Greedos and Scissor Punch. Like show me some Scissor Punch. This is a little bit of like a Babylon 5 lady. You know what I mean, though? Like it doesn't really do it for me in terms of the alien stuff. Like she's not alien enough, Like I always say, if one of you weirdos would willingly, gladly bang one of the things, it's not alien enough, is it? Then it's just a cute lady with some weird makeup on her face.
I don't know. That mouse guy really got me going.
Fair enough. That mouse was pretty fucking hot.
And who wouldn't bang Max Rebo, Jason?
Right. Yeah. Max Rebo. He's out. He wants it hard. I could tell. I mean, just that snout. But yeah. So anyways, I do hope that there's some better, like a presence of like creatures and aliens and stuff in it. And it's not just like all human colonies, which I'll be fine with if it goes that way. It won't ruin it for me, but I am hoping for, that visual kind of fun. So Baymax says sup. And I say sup, Baymax. How's it going, dude?
Y'all can't be crack manufacturers on Ner, my friend. You know what I mean? No, I'm saying.
Yeah. We have our daily Padme's foot fetish. Padme and Mon Mothma had a lesbian foot fetish during that Republic era. Fair enough. I won't fight you on it. Baymax says, I want real aliens, not Buffy style makeup. Yeah.
Oh, we hate on Buffy around here? Is that what we're doing?
I've never seen it. So yeah. Yeah, I say that's fair. And old man Fitz says hello to Baymax. Because they're best
Poor
friends.
man's Wally wants to complain about the makeup. But all right.
Fair enough. Yeah. But like when it comes to the human element of it, you don't want the creatures getting in the way. You don't when you're going for that. So I kind of think that's what they may be going for on the series. Like,
dude, my
only
complaint my real complaint across the board, if I could pick one fucking thing I could change right now across every Star Wars production since The Force Awakens, is the aliens need to be speaking alien languages and shit. They got to stop talking in human,
Yeah.
It is like when in Kenobi had it, fucking Boba had it, like when they show up and they're like, hey, how you doing, old Kenobi? I'm a prospect.
Oh, hey, I'm the guy from Scrubs, but I'm a fascist now. Isn't that crazy?
It's like, I mean, imagine, it's just like, this is weird, but I imagine the aliens aren't different than if I went to SeaWorld and animals could talk. I don't want them talking English.
Mm-hmm.
I want to, if I'm going to speak to a dolphin, I want the dolphin speaking dolphin and I can just understand it.
That fucking stinking Harry Potter was like, it was all like making weird noises like I'm a snake and I'm talking.
Yeah, but if I went to SeaWorld and the otter was like, hey, what's up, Rob? How you doing?
Yeah.
Love that Lucas impersonation. Ha, 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 pizza party. Like that would
just be... hey there, Rob. I'm Shamu, the whale.
Want to go to January the 6th? Oh, like who knows? Shamu.
Hey, Rob, don't tell anybody, but they don't treat me too well here, and I feel sick.
Does Andor know what it's like to swim in your own urine for 20 years? Nope.
Yeah.
We can't do that voice too much, Chase. It's going to blow out my whole fucking throat, dude. So it takes too much effort.
Star Wars Fit says the Empire hates non-humans. Also, we don't need Star Trek types translators.
No, subtitles. I just think this is a fear of subtitles.
Yeah, it is.
Lucas didn't care. And sometimes I don't even need to know what they're saying. I like the one-sided conversation where I don't want subtitles on R2D2 unless Auralnauts are making them. All right, like that's.
Do you know about the Greedo sequence in A New Hope?
What about it?
So the studio wanted George Lucas to have Greedo speak English. And George said no. And then they said, well, what about when children watch this? Because this is pretty much a Disney movie, right, George? And then he said it would allow the parents to read it to the children and it would bring them closer together. And the studio said, okay. Yeah. Fox, that was between Lucas and 20th Century Fox. But I honestly, it sounds like bullshit, but it's not bullshit.
What if she speaks like a dolphin though? Jason?
Whenever, no, but like
I have like a real serious conversation. You know,
I have to read subtitles to my kids because like my daughter can't read fast enough yet to like read subtitles on the screen. You know, and it does makes it like a moment where we are watching and I'm reading to her and she, you know what I mean? It definitely does work that way, and it's sort of weird that clearly Disney is going with the 20th Century Fox route of, oh, people don't want to read. It's like, come on, man. We're on our phones getting text messages every fucking second. I could take a text message from a fucking alien for 5 seconds. It's not that big of a
complainers,
deal.
bro. You know? No offense to the American. It's like Jason when the Visions came out, you listened to it in English, so you're to blame.
No, right? I'm not.
Yeah, read the subtitles. Well, listen to it in Japanese.
It's not the same.
They'd see it the same,
but they're stupid. They're wrong.
Yeah.
There's a whole difference between asking me to read an hour and a half worth of subtitles after I've been writing and reading all day, and asking me to look at a text message though. Like, I mean, that's literally what these are. It's like 2 text messages from a couple of people.
Yeah,
you know,
true story. I was initially going to narrate the opening crawl. Marsha was like faster and more intense, and I was like, "Oh, don't you start with me? Don't you start with me?"
But on Clone Wars, they did do it. They did it like the old serial thing, and they did it because kids would be watching the Clone Wars without their parents. Which case I'm okay with, you know.
War, you know, like stuff happens. Hey, you know, Jason, I'm also the Tauntaun in Empire. Did you know that?
We might be going a little too far with it now, but Rose Tico non-binary poop fetish. Scat fetish is much better than foot fetish is that Padme's foot fetish. So they're in a whole war here, but we don't kink shame here at Making Star Wars. So you are welcome to discuss in the comments.
I can prove I was the Tauntaun. Hold on, ready?
Yeah,
that's me. That's me.
Rick. That's ultimately how I think Alien should be written. Where if they didn't subtitle it, if the subtitles broke on your Roku or whatever the fuck you're watching on, you would still understand it. Like, there's ways of doing that. There's ways of, because most of the time the language is not, like, for instance, in Kenobi, the conversation that they have, you could mostly have Ewan McGregor echo back like, oh yeah, we are from off-world, that kind of stuff. You could write it in a way that makes it where even without the subtitles,
Jason,
it
I
still
don't write
works.
this stuff. I just have the actors do it on set. All right, so, and some are just they're just not very good. So we just talk. Who cares?
You'll just fix it in post. You'll fix it in post.
Just fix it. Well,
just fix it in post.
You know, if Ben Burt can't do it, who can't? Right?
Send us all. I have to read subtitles to my wife because she watches her phone and only listens to TV shows and movies. Yeah. You know, sometimes I'm not unlike that when it comes to things that are not extremely visually stimulating. Where, like, for instance, that ILM documentary that comes out tonight, I kind of enjoyed it as much as if it was a podcast, as if it was a documentary. Like, there's a lot of times in it where it works just as audio, you know, like stuff like that, especially. But that comes out tonight, by the way, if you guys are going to stay up and watch it. But it's good. 6 parts. It's pretty chill.
I'm going to watch. I like seeing young George Lucas. You know, I like to watch myself when I'm younger. Get my way.
Today, George, on Santa's show, Santa broke down how reindeers have this like weird gunk that forms on their antlers and then it bleeds everywhere, and that the stables are really gross and full of blood. It's pretty metal.
Yeah, we had the same problem with Warwick.
With Darth Maul?
No, with Warwick.
Not with Darth Maul's horns.
Warwick
Davis.
Warwick, yeah. Yeah,
was it because you stapled the antlers to his head?
No, it's because he took this stupid method acting class when he became an Ewok, and then he felt he had to like scat it. It's so stupid. I don't know why I go down that path, Jason. Let me just cut to the other image. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's There's a joke there, but I can't say it without bursting out laughing. So there's just no point.
Yeah.
I could totally see some fucking method actor trying to pretend they're really a bear. You know, when they're playing like a Ewok or some shit, you know?
Jared Leto or whatever his name is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's stupid shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's a Nirvana song called "I Hate Myself and I Want to Die," and in the middle of it, it has this quote from, remember Jack Handey, Deep Thoughts by Jack Handey on SNL. In the middle of "I Hate Myself and I Want to Die," he recites it, and it's, most people don't realize that large pieces of coral, which have been painted brown and attached to the skull by common wood screws, can make a child look like a deer. It's my favorite one. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it was a fun time on Saturday Night Live. We'd be laughing at our parents, like, I don't know, this is weird. This isn't too wild and crazy guys anymore, you know? Like,
yeah, not to be that guy, but yeah, SNL as of late is super corporate and boring, not very wild and fun and strange, you know? I like it. I like
aside from the Jeopardy stuff, right? I pretty much got out when that whole Chris Kattan, Molly, what's her face, and Anchorman showed up. It wasn't that I didn't think they weren't funny individually. It's just that it just seemed they always went down the path of trying to dry hump each other. You know, all fucking night. It was like, oh, here we go, the dry humping. Here we go, all night.
Right.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah, I was kind of into it. No, I'm kidding. Sam says, in Return of the Jedi, when Luke is reading off what R2 was saying, is that because he doesn't understand him yet, or because he can't hear him because he's flying a ship? What, is Luke flying the ship? What do you mean? Oh, when he's in Return of the Jedi and they're like flying on the X-Wing? Yeah, I think it's because he's outside. That's what I'm going to say. Soundproof glass. So he has like the little thing on the screen and it says what he's saying. That's what I'm going to say.
Don't.
Hey, Sam's
asking,
actually
reading. That had nothing to do with R2, that text. Those were text messages from Lando bitching about Chewie farting in the Millennium Falcon all day. Yeah.
That's fair. So Dell's driving. Okay, I'm driving. See you when I get there. Richie says the Andor shot looks like it's right out of a Bond film. Yeah.
And by the way, Luke can't understand R2, right? Yeah, he can't. Because like, how many times is 3PO fucking translating for R2 in those movies?
Yeah. It barely makes any sense, but who cares? Miss Claus is swiping left on Christmas Mingle. Oh no.
Hey, Baymax, you said that. I didn't. I got nothing to do with them jokes.
I thought it. Baymax says, I thought it was Margot Kira's hand, but it's definitely not her. Looks more reptilian. Yeah, like we were talking about how I call Margot Hot Bosk, and this is more like Kathleen Kennedy as an alien. You know. And hey, Arya, how have you been? I feel like we haven't seen Arya in a while. What do you think Arya's been doing? Like having space adventures? Andor is going to do well. Hope the episodes are long. The episode's gonna be the same as everything else. I promise you. I promise you. Be like that 45-minute, realm. That thing. Will one be 50 minutes? Maybe. Will one be like 39 minutes? Probably. But most of it's going to be like around that 45-minute mark. Same as the other shows. I guarantee it. It's my guarantee. Star Wars Fit says, I can't wait for Andor. I think it's going to be the best Star Wars this year. So does Rob.
Jason disagrees.
I am I think it's going to be I think if Kenobi wasn't your cup, I think it's going to be it. I think it's going to be the best Star Wars of the year. If Kenobi didn't work for you, or if Kenobi worked for you story-wise but not visually, I think most likely it's going to have a good story and it's going to have good visuals for a Disney Plus TV show. I think it's going to look better, for sure. So that's my take, anyways. That's just my guess, Soup and/or salad. Kathleen Kennedy firing Eminent 0, right? Yeah, he's really getting her, teaching her a lesson. Oh yeah. little side note. Wait, did I put it on my computer? Oh, yeah, I didn't. Back when I was just a wee child, a little tiny tot, if you will. No, I was about 8 years
It's your
old.
most South Parky voice you've come up with yet.
All right,
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
I was part of. This was like painful. When I was a kid, it was like, did you ever like want to get anything like ordered from the mail and you just never could? Like, you ever like try, like your parents would say like, well, when you got the money and then you get the money and then they just like wouldn't take you to get a money order, or they just whatever it happened to be. Well, this right here was Dan Madsen, the old editor of the Star Wars Insider, the Lucasfilm Fan Club magazine, Back to the Future Fan Club. Dude like did like a lot. He was sharing this on his Facebook last night, and this was what the Bantha Treks became Star Wars Fan Club, and then it became the Lucasfilm Fan Club once they stopped doing Star Wars. And this was like some of the first like stuff we got like from like Willow back then, and it was follow the adventures of Willow and Mad Mardigan through the pages of the Lucasfilm Fan Club magazine. When you join the Lucasfilm Fan Club, you'll receive our quarterly, which felt like fucking forever when you're 8, full color magazine with exclusive interviews, exciting photos, and behind the scenes articles on how Willow was made into a major motion picture. You'll also receive exclusive information on the Star Wars saga, the continuing adventures of Lucasfilm, ILM, and much, much more. In addition, the Lucasfilm Fan Club is your source for Willow merchandise.
Oh, great.
You'll also receive a fan club membership kit, and this is it: the embroidered patch and membership card. I had my embroidered patch put over my Star Tours hat. Why did I do that? I don't know. But I was like, I felt like I was double Lucasfilming it by doing that, you know? I was really. And then this was like all of the Willow merchandise almost like on one little page.
Not fit for KB, huh?
Me and my cousin Steven, we used to go to JJ Newberry's. We bought some, but we stole most of these. They were like non-posable figures.
They're like D&D figurines, right?
They were like, yeah, like little PVC. I don't know. They're like rubbery, kind of like on like little metal stands made by they were painted. And there was also some on horses, which you can see down here. Well, the action figure and horse. There was like 2 figures on horses. I think one was a bad guy, one was a good guy. And they made the Eborsis dragon, but I didn't get that till years later at a store called Monsters in Motion. But it turns out that the Eborsis dragons didn't really come out. They were only like salesman samples. Fortunately, I left it at an ex's house, and I will never see it again. Yeah, these are the old Willow posters right here. But I had one. I had the Willow poster book, and it had Sorsha in her gown. I had that shit on my wall, and I was like, "That's my girlfriend." But and then my neighbor Ricky, he had the Willow game. We used to play the Willow game. It was really kind of hard for us.
On the NES?
Like 8. No. This
board game.
Willow, the Willow game is a giant board game. Yeah.
I wasn't looking.
Fearsome monsters, fabulous treasures, transformative spells, objects, and places of power, all part of your quest to deliver the baby Alora Danon to the fabled Tyr Ezzelene in this exciting adventure board game. And I always wanted it. I was trying to get it from him. He'd never give it up. But yeah. And
to this very day.
But back then, as a kid, that was like some of the only. It was like Willow and Last Crusade were like the big things that the Lucasfilm Fan Club magazine did. Then around 1994, it transitioned back to being the Star Wars Insider, or became the Star Wars Insider. And I remember one of the first issues. It was like George Lucas has decided that they're going to make the Star Wars prequels, and Anakin Skywalker is going to be 8 years old. And I remember reading that and being like, "Oh fuck, I don't want that." Yeah. But it allowed me to accept it. I was like, "That's what he's doing," and I just got over it, and then I enjoyed it for what it was, And
I get it. I don't understand that. So weird.
It is. So no, it's weird. Yeah. Then This was Jim Perry sent us this on Twitter, and he said, "Can you please make Sketchcraft read the George parts of the article during the show?"
What am I, your puppet? Yeah.
Hey, he loves
Make
you,
him
man.
do the voice.
Jim is I think Jim is a Rob super fan, to be honest with you. I mean, every day he's like, "Oh man, you cracked me up when you said that thing, Rob." And I'm always like,
you know what they're officially going to be called, Jason? My sketch cult.
The sketch cult. All right.
The sketch. They're in the sketch cult. You can be in the sketch cult too for $8 a year, quarterly. Yeah, that's how I roll. That's how I roll, Jason.
Before we go and I get too far into it, yesterday I was playing Fall Guys with Bespin Bulletin, and Bespin and I started having a conversation about how much will Indiana Jones make, Indiana Jones 5. And the original one made, the last Indy movie made close to 800 million. And
wow.
I am, yeah, it's a killing. And I am of the mindset that the movie could really make a ton of money. I'm kind of putting it close to basically what Crystal Skull did. And, but I don't really know.
Well, if it doesn't, Mangold's going to beat up everybody. He's just coming to your house and going to knock the shit out of you. So.
Well, what we end up with, though, with Indiana Jones is we have all of the original trilogy kids are old now, but we'll still go to the movies to see an Indiana Jones movie, right? Then we have the prequel trilogy era kids who did go out to see Indiana Jones 4, which, and the money that Indiana Jones 4 makes, I think, proves that to some extent. Indiana Jones 4, you can say, has bad rap or wasn't a good movie or whatever. But those same people like the Star Wars prequels that the people who don't like Indiana Jones 4 also don't like, for what it's worth. I don't know if Indiana Jones 4 has the love that the prequels got or will get, if it ever built that audience or not. I honestly can't tell. But we also are, I hate to say the word, I think Hollywood is post-COVID, even though we're not. But movies are not making what they did back in 2008. Like that, people aren't going out how they did in the same way.
Spider-Man just made $2 billion.
Yeah, you always say Spider-Man, though.
Okay, Doctor Strange made $950 million. Mavericks up $1.2 billion. Okay.
Yeah. Top Gun, I think, is the one that is the closest.
Minions is up $400 million, right? Like,
but Minions was memed in a really counterculturally kind of way. Minions is like what I'm trying to say is everything that we're talking about is weird, though. I still don't like average movies aren't really like Ghostbusters, for instance. A little earlier in the year, though, you know what I mean? But like Ghostbusters, it did okay. But Ghostbusters and my idea of Ghostbusters 3 and my idea of Indiana Jones 5, to me personally, aren't that different in terms of what I would imagine the cultural significance and money.
Batman made $750 million.
Batman made Batman made $750 million in 2022. Indiana Jones made $800 million in 2008. So what I'm saying is I'm just throwing stuff out there. I don't really have a perspective. I'm not a big box office person.
Oh, I have no doubt that, but I would also say there was like a 30-year anticipation for the Indiana Jones, and the trailer looked great.
Yeah.
And
so we have what are we coming
different
on, though? We're coming on like a 13-14 year kind of thing, though, which is not unlike the Force Awakens to Revenge of the Sith.
And there's some version of Batman out every couple of years, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
So. I agree. If movie theaters were back, I would have seen Thor by now. They're not back. You know what I mean? I'm not going out right now. Like, people are fucking nuts if they go to the theater right now, in my opinion. But
look at Ford's last films too. Ford hasn't had a big film like as a movie star. He was still doing movie star work in 2008. You know what I mean?
Right.
He still kind of had some movie star power left. He doesn't have that today.
Right. But no film was making $2 billion in 2008. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, like, it's highs and lows right now versus a steady current. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like 800 million. Yeah. Dark Knight, I think, just crossed the billion. It had to get re-released for that, I think. And then Iron Man did pretty good that year. It didn't do the Dark Knight money. But there wasn't a lot in 2008 aside from it. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, look, there's another Harry Potter. You know, that's good. You're always good for about 500 mil with a Harry Potter movie.
Yeah.
Like one way or the other.
Yeah, just from like brand loyalty or something, right? Kind of more.
Well, unless it's called Fantastic Beasts, and then you're good for 300 million.
Okay.
Like, guaranteed. Yeah.
Okay. I thought that's what you were talking about. I don't know how much.
But yeah, brand loyalty. If it says Harry Potter, like officially, it's got Harry Potter running around. You're making at least 500 million. Like it's it's a guarantee.
Okay. Even
with all this stupid turf bullshit, you know. Oh, your mic muted.
Yeah, I muted to tell the kids to be quiet.
Oh, okay.
they came into the room, so I'm like, you guys gotta be in here.
But I do think there was giant hype for indie, you know? Yeah. And I think overseas, the things that played poorly here didn't really matter overseas, you know? Like I didn't think the thing everyone complains about, the nuke in the fridge, I enjoyed.
I enjoyed
that
too.
Shit is fucking, that's a sick ass fucking visual. It's fucking hilarious when he falls in, he gets hit a million times and still lives. Yeah, and it was the original ending to Back to the Future, which I knew going into it.
And it's just not really you know, like if you have a problem with the raft, like I always say, Indy using the raft as a parachute, if that broke Temple of Doom for you, then I could see how that breaks it for you too. But yeah, physics in Indiana Jones is one of those things where I think it can be pushed. It shouldn't be pushed all the time, but there's times when it can. I did think that they made him a little too Spider-Man-y. In the last Indiana Jones with the swinging on the whip stuff, it got a little bit. That's because
John Wayne's grandson was doing all the effects. You know what I mean? He just kept fucking going whipping and swinging, and you know.
But also, my favorite Indiana Jones movie is The Last Crusade, even though Raiders is clearly one of the best movies ever made in terms of, you know, as a piece of constructed film. But Sam says Indy's box office performance will largely depend on their Rotten Tomatoes score. Same with Avatar. If they do 90% plus, they'll crush. Do people really look to Rotten Tomatoes though? That's kind of like my thing is.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I'm like a little bit. I mean, maybe there's a correlation there between movies that have 90% crushing, but I don't know if it's the Rotten Tomatoes aspect. That's if people are really deferring to it or not. Maybe they are, but I don't know. I'm a little suspect of it.
Because those Fast and Furious movies have never gotten 90%, and they're doing 1.5 billion, 1.2 billion, 700 million, 700 million. You know, like no one's giving those good reviews.
Yeah,
nobody. Even the fans hate them, but they just keep going. You know?
Oh, 1 second, I need to tell these guys.
So I wish it were true. I wish quality dictated financial growth. You know, I wish that were so. But sometimes, man, things just. Plus, I don't know if you folks have ever gone to a screening with like actual movie reviewers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like a Japanese audience. It's like super quiet.
Fucking sucks.
Oh, I love it. Everyone shuts up. No one.
Two things happen. Well, see. So here's what like Disney does. Disney puts fan club. When I don't say this word, you guys know I don't call people shills. They put fan club shills in the front. People that will cry about everything and flip out, and then they put the journalists behind them, and that's how. But at the end, it's like a forced date. You know what I mean? It's an alchemy that is so shit. It does not. It's the level. It's just so inauthentic across the board. And then at the end of the day, I honestly feel like it may even give more cynicism to the reviewers or to the journalists. Everybody knows they're doing it, and it's just. But it sucks. I mean, I'm not gonna. I love the opportunity to go to the premiere of Solo as an opportunity to have gone to a Star Wars premiere. Like, who wouldn't want that, right? But I will say the actual viewing of the movie itself, way sucky compared to just going to the normal cinema on opening night and watching it with just normal people.
And look, I enjoy a lot of little film pundits out there. You know, not just Can't Be a Harloff and them, but like Lon and. But I'll admit, most of them, especially the more bearded and glasses they get, really just become comic book guy for movies. You know, they tell you what you should be like. You shouldn't be liking a alien movie with blue characters running around half naked. You know, you fucking moron. They tell you, why are you buying that comic? Well, it's in your store. Why are you selling it if you don't fucking want it? Like I'm a movie reviewer. Are you a movie reviewer or are you a reviewer of only the films you like? Because that's two different things.
Yeah.
That's two different. And telling fucking folks like, man, I always go back to like gaming, right? Like, if you go back 30 years, 25 to 30 years, let's go to the Nintendo 64 PlayStation era. It's a little easier to talk about. A lot of games that got C's, 70%, ended up over time being games people loved more than games that got 90s or 100%. The Mario stood the test of time, but you know what always got a 70 fucking percent, Jason? Pilot Wings. Pilot Wings. Never got higher than that. Everyone's like, it's kind of boring. It's just jazz. Don't do nothing. Blah, 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 blah. And then over to people like, I love it. Star Fox got a lot of the 70s, 80s, C's and B's.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those Star Wars games people love, man, they hit low C's to even Dark Forces got like a B.
Yeah.
B minus, no lightsabers. Can't do no force powers. It's kind of a cheap Doom clone. Just combine it for a license. But people remember it way differently,
Right.
So like I always just kind of like try to keep that in mind when there's a movie that everyone fucking loves that I can't stand. Or how did Indiana Jones 4, which people universally hate, still make $150 million?
Yeah.
The same year The Dark Knight came out.
Well, that's
clearly, had a
that's the thing is like when Indiana Jones 4 came out, and I would just be talking to somebody's dad or something about it. They'd be like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's fun, man. You know what I mean? Then they just don't care.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, it's cool. And then, but when it comes on, TNT or whatever the fuck shows it all the time, like they watch it. And that's why Avatar has been like a weird read too. Because Avatar is just like that. Like my dad loves Avatar like you. And my dad took my dad to see it in the theater when it came out. He had a good time. But my dad can watch Avatar on basic cable any fucking day. I'll see him and I'll just be like eating a piece of chicken, watching fucking Avatar. You know what I mean? On basic when it was on, I don't know if it's still on, but it's been a while. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I prefer to watch it only in 3D. It's the way it was meant to be seen. So it's a little bit different for me. But the 2D experience, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of a middling John
but that's
Carter
my like
experience.
Yeah, but my point is public exposure truly is what matters. So that's what I always that's been my theory. Back to the conversation the other day about KOTOR versus Star Wars Rebels. Like, it doesn't matter what's good. It doesn't matter what's better. Things that become classics are what have exposure to low culture, though. That's why Shakespeare exists.
Well, remember that when Andor gets 24 episodes and Kenobi gets 6 and more people like it.
Yeah.
Well, people probably more exposure just by sheer numbers.
At the end of the day, if the viewership of Andor is high, then that's how this works. I mean, that's why the Star Wars prequels, that's why a whole generation dislikes the Star Wars prequels and a whole other generations embraces them as their nostalgia and something good. It's really how it works. It's why a lot of times I would call the archive of classic rock or of music is highly questionable. Not necessarily the best music that makes it into the archive, if you will, of what's a classic. It's just what had the exposure and had the ability to permeate in the culture over time. When I love the Beatles, but I'm going to use them as my example. When the Beatles have 3 gajillion records, they're going to survive because people are going to continue to find those records over time. Whereas something that's really, really good but esoteric and has no chance of exposure could be the best thing that ever happened, and it's not necessarily going to have an audience. Not going to build.
I think
one.
The thing right now that I think is stumping a lot of studios, right? And I want to see what you think about this.
Okay.
Is since COVID hit, I think there was this idea, kind of like I treat COVID like 9/11. It's not that different, right? Like just kind of a worldwide 9/11.
Hell of a lot more people died.
It's not, but what I'm trying to say is, I think that the studios thought that depressing or serious films wouldn't work for a while. We need to make certain things are more fun and lighthearted. You know, why are people going to go to the theater? They can be depressed at home. They want to get away from it all. And so when a movie like The Batman does 100 million, 50 million, or there's a lot of fan community that's griping out there saying that the Marvel movies need more seriousness or a little too jokey. You know, I think that throws off, you know what I mean? Like the mentality. I wonder, because I don't think, like, even during COVID, that they thought WandaVision was going to hit like that for people. And it's largely a grieving thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just wonder, you know?
Yeah. Well, like I know everybody's different, but I kind of feel like there's like two kinds of people. And like, believe it or not, regardless of what anybody really says, I don't, the 80s were shit. They were terrible. Everybody was on a huge come down, a huge hangover, and not having a good time in the 90s because the 80s were terrible. And that's when you have like two kinds of people who are like, I am going to embrace counterculture and listen to Mazzy Star because I can connect to this right now. I understand this. This feels like me. And then there's the other people who put on Friends and act like it wasn't happening. So I definitely think that there's just two kinds of people. Some people, when they're sad, want to go to the opposite. Some people, when they're sad, want to actually just delve into it more, and it feels more authentic and connective to them. That's my theory on it. So I don't think there's a right answer, but I think what happens in to connect this to Star Wars is during the Vietnam era, same kind of thing. 60s weren't great. Moving into the 70s, still not that great, still pretty bad, but we're moving out of the strife of the 60s, and New Hollywood started making Taxi Driver and shit. But eventually people were like, enough. And then Star Wars comes and it connects massively. But I think in that instance, the reason why that worked was because you had a bunch of kids who were really small, who were coming out of that, not really with all of the baggage of their parents necessarily, who were able to embrace that. And even I'm born in 79, but even me, like, I remember being like, all of the Vietnam people are really weird. I just didn't understand why they were that way. And I was like, well, I don't want anything to do with that. And then I was like, Star Wars, you know what I mean? And so I kind of feel like I kind of understand how that sort of transpired.
Well,
and
it was weird to me as a kid with Vietnam, because my dad was in Vietnam, you know? And
I had friends' dads who were, my parents were young, but I had friends' dads who were, and they were all like, they didn't speak, and they were, their way of connecting with you was like shaking you and like beating you up. And I hated it. I was like, I get he's trying to be affectionate, but it hurts my shoulders when you do this, you know? Lots of dads.
But it was so weird how my father would, you know, he would be against, he hated
my
Vietnam,
son's mad at me. I kicked him out. Then he just told me, you are stupid. Luke, just so you know, I can take your stuff away. Might want to watch the language and be a little funnier next time. But go on.
I feel like I have this effect sometimes. They see me doing the jokes, and then everyone's going to do the jokes, and then, you know what I'm saying? I blame myself a little bit on this one.
Right.
But, yeah, whatever. But, of course, if you told me to stop, I stop sometimes. But the weird part about Vietnam was guys who going through Vietnam hated it, but then they rooted for fucking Desert Storm.
Yeah.
Like, my dad was like, he was all super nationalist after Desert Storm. Like, I was like, what is the difference, Dad? Like, I don't understand.
You know what? I've seen that too. Like, and my dad wasn't like a Vietnam guy, but we saw it's the same thing after 9/11. After you feel like you're coming off a big loss, you want a vengeful win. And I think that's basically how that worked. That's what it was. I mean, yeah, I just saw, like, I remember kind of tripping out about it, like people bringing like printed out Saddam Hussein like dartboard pictures and like handing them out. Everybody's laughing about it, and I'm just like, where does this come from? Like, what is the point of this? You know what I mean? And we saw where that got us. I got a little Anakin Skywalker on my hands here.
You know, you might have to get one of those WeWorks.
right?
for doing the show. You know what I mean?
Luke, if you could be quiet, you could come back in. But if you keep telling me you hate me, you're just going to be in trouble. So you know it's not going to work out well for you. All right, so let's start to get into the article a little bit though. The article I think you'll like actually, from Yahoo Life. When you drop the ball, you drop the ball. How Indiana Jones 4 almost nuked Steven Spielberg, by Tom Nicholson. And,
good old Tom.
Old Tommy boy, right?
He made a nuke the fridge joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird too in certain ways because when you look at Indiana Jones 4, it does look like it was filmed in the volume in that chase sequence and that part of the movie.
Let's just be honest here, right?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Everyone, be honest. You can all hate on Avatar. I don't care. I'm hoping none of you were in the theater. But let's be honest about Steven Spielberg. Which would you rather watch in a heartbeat?
Yeah.
The Lost World or Indiana Jones 4?
Indiana Jones 4.
Yeah, right. It's not even close. Dude.
Yeah, not even close.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to say, like, the dude survived The Lost World, which I'm telling you, one of the worst sequels of all time. Like, literally has this chick in a rickety old hut doing gymnastics. Like, I mean, I don't know what world that movie takes place in.
Yeah. Luke Ward, Santa sees what you're doing. Santa knows all.
Yeah,
Babu Frick
Santa
says,
took my mom away for Christmas that year. I was bad, so you know, like Santa's vengeful. I'm just letting you know. You get the wrath of Santa, you can lose parents like quickly. Yeah,
so,
Nintendo's the least of your problems.
Roderick Eric Davis, what Officer Brent Hopkins of the Los Angeles Police Department's burglary department thought an unusual burglar. Smartly dressed and carrying a messenger bag, Hopkins couldn't make head nor tails of Davis when the LAPD's burglary department picked him up after he'd been found hanging out in NBC Universal's office in Los Angeles in 2013.
Is this a
Who
defund
knows?
the LAPD? Like,
who knows
if
he wants? Who knows if he wants to be the producer on the cheap or has a strange fascination with the film business? Hopkins says. This wasn't the first time Davis had been brought in. 6 years before, in 2013, arrest in a hotel room in Los Angeles, David met some prospective buyers for some images he'd come into possession of, hoping they might be interested in what he was selling. Then they arrested him. They were officers from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and they informed him that he was being arrested on suspicion of being connected to the theft of motion picture production budget and proofs from an office on the Universal Studios complex. They'd set up a sting operation after detectives learned the pictures were being offered around to gossip websites and any other interested parties. Davis, they alleged,
him out.
was trying to sell stolen images. I think there was stuff about that back then, actually.
Ever since the Attack of the Clones storyboard leak, right?
No, Harry Knowles went to a motel room and watched the Attack of the Clones.
That's
like a
right.
Copy. Yeah, that dude fucking pulled it off. Davis, they alleged, was trying to sell stolen images, which gave away clues to the plot of the then unreleased Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Quote, "We set up a sting and the guy was arrested. It was really great," producer Frank Marshall told Empire at the time. Quote, "People actually said, no, we're going to respect Steven Spielberg's vision." So,
Frank Marshall shows up with his Punisher skull cap and shit.
Yeah. So we set up a sting and the guy was arrested. It was really great. No, we're going to respect.
You meant they set up
Spielberg.
Sting, poor guy.
Sting,
you know?
yeah. Doing tantric all day. Such was the feverish anticipation for Indiana Jones's fourth outing. In the 19 years since Harrison Ford, who recently turned 80, and Sean Connery rode off into the sunset, having stopped the Nazis getting their hands on the Holy Grail, attempts to get Indy back on screen had come and gone. The final shot of the third film was very pointed. I thought that brought the curtain down on the trilogy, and then we were all going to move on and mature into other aspects of filmmaking. I never thought I would see Indiana Jones again, Spielberg said during the Crystal Skull promo rounds. Nevertheless,
to the Lost World. and
yeah,
Hook.
nevertheless, Spielberg, George Lucas, and Ford talked occasionally in the early 90s. I know, and Ready Player One, and
No, this is a guy who's like in his mind, Steven, you know, I gotta figure out my Steven Spielberg was, but Steven, like, he thinks Schindler's List and then like Saving Private Ryan. He's
and Empire of
omitting
the Sun.
Hook. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
omitting, you know, Lost World.
He's not, he's like, it's like he doesn't accept the fact that, like, if he was a Beatle, you know, that, you know, he wrote Sergeant Pepper's, but he also can write I Want to Hold Your Hand. Like, you can do two things. And it depends on how Spielberg wants to be seen in the moment, how he discusses his history and who he is. And it's like, you know, own it all, bud. It's good. It's all good, though. You know what I mean? Like, I like Hook Spielberg. I don't think it's like the best Spielberg we can get, but who can be the, if there was no Hook, we would have no frame of reference for what the best Spielberg is, would we? You know what I mean? It's stuff like that. It's really weird how these guys see themselves sometimes. Also weird that George Lucas sees himself as a greaser, but whatever. I thought that brought down the curtain on the trilogy, and then we were all going to move on and mature into other aspects of filmmaking. And I never thought I would see Indiana Jones again.
Steven is a soc, just so you know.
Yeah. Every once in a while, a script would show up, and it wouldn't be exactly what we hoped for, or the other of us. Ford told Empire. It took us a long time to get on the same page.
No, it took them a long time to see, or to get quality.
Yeah. You know what you were saying was hurting our feelings, man. You want to hurt our feelings? Hey, what? We love you. But we don't talk to you that way. Don't talk to us that way. Okay. Spielberg was particularly wary. It's okay, son. Come back. We won't talk about it anymore. But let's be nice. Very upset. Spielberg was particularly wary. I was the holdout, Spielberg said later. I was the one that said, I'm done with the series. It was great. Let's walk away. Lucas had hit on the idea of shifting the action into the Cold War and paying homage not to the action and adventure serials of the 30s, but the sci-fi B movies of the 50s. Spielberg dug his heels in. I said, George, I don't want to do aliens. I'd already done 2 alien movies. At the time, I'd done E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I didn't want to do any more aliens. That was it. But George insisted.
He did War of the Worlds.
He did War of the Worlds. But once again,
he deleted that one.
Yeah. Well, 2 things are going on here. Either that movie was new then, and he didn't want to make it sound like it was old hat at the time, or the quote is new, and the movie isn't as memorable as the other ones, you know? So I think he's talking about,
he probably had that conversation before War of the Worlds. Wouldn't that be fucked up?
Yeah.
So he had to have this conversation about doing an Indiana Jones before War of the Worlds, and then he's like, I want to do aliens, and then he does a War of the Worlds, and it's like, Lucas is like, well, what the hell, man? He just did the alien thing with the cruise. Hey,
do you have a copy of Indiana Jones of the Rinsler book digitally?
Yeah.
Because my book is packed away and I can't find it. If you could send me a copy.
You want me to go get it now?
When you later on. Anyways, the first draft, like after the show, like you don't have to get.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it.
The first draft was titled Indiana Jones and the Saucer Men, which you could read online, by the way. Later, it became Indiana Jones and the Attack of the Giant Ants. I don't believe has leaked.
Which Joe Johnston raged about that one. You know, it was
I'm a little curious if some of this is totally accurate. I don't remember Indiana Jones and the Mysterians. I remember there was there Indiana Jones and the Monkey King or something like that too, was one that leaked. Even then, Spielberg thought it was humoring Lucas's pet project and vaguely anticipated throwing it to a younger director if it ever went anywhere, which is what they should have done.
Who do you think you would have done? Shyamalan? Spielberg
at the time, Kennedy would have got M. Night. M. Night wrote wrote one of the scripts, actually.
Right.
When Roland Emmerich's Independence Day, I always had the theory, by the way, that had Spielberg not directed and that movie had been approved and then Spielberg didn't direct and stepped away, M. Night would have been the writer director of it. That was my theory.
This Independence Day thing kind of hints at that quote before took place before he did War of the Worlds, which is hilarious. Then he goes and does another Alien movie after Independence. Is so funny.
It's always going to, you know what I mean? Once again,
it's not like he said it in Victorian times, like the fucking book
which
is.
Would have been so much better. Like, why don't they ever like? There was actually like a British version that came out. I think it's set in the Victorian times, but I never saw it. It came out recently. It wasn't good.
Great, but it wasn't. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was the time to do it. You know, they didn't.
I briefly became obsessed with War of the Worlds in 6th grade. I had to read a book. They made me read. I didn't want to. I read the book, got really into it, and then a TV show came out called War of the Worlds. That was a sequel to the original movie and combined the lore of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And I enjoyed it as a soap opera. And then and I got the original movie and was so into it. And then when Spielberg was going to make one, I was really into the idea. And then I saw it, and I actually own the movie. I don't hate it. It's not crap, but it's not a movie. It's like a good movie if it wasn't by Spielberg, is how I would put it. But he also made it super fast. It was like, and he used the previs tech that Lucas was had created or developed for Revenge of the Sith, that had funded creation of anyway. And so the movie, if you look at it as for what it is, it's the project that it is. It's cool, but you know, it's a bit of a whatever movie at the same time. Anyways, so Spielberg is humoring Lucas. They couldn't do another massive alien invasion film now, he reasoned, which I found weird because I don't think Alien Invasion was really like the big point of it, of those other ones, you know, like of the other scripts.
It's the destruction porn.
It was no, but the Indiana Jones scripts were never about invasion. They were just about like UFOs and like delving into it through artifacts.
Should have been invasion though.
I mean,
I don't like a mystery with a whole movie being a mystery for Indy. You know, like I get Raiders was a mystery, everything's Doom is a mystery, but like if they had just taken. Okay, so if they had taken War of the Worlds and just set it in the 50s with Indiana Jones and Indiana Jones and the War of the Worlds, if that had been the 4th fucking film, bro, I'm telling you, would have been the first film to hit $2 billion.
I gotta say though, I am of the ET hypothesis. I am an interdimensionalist. I'm not
the biggest fan of trying to like merge two properties together, but Indiana Jones and the War of the Worlds sounds great.
Sure.
Think about it. All those fucking names you hear in the Saucermen and the Mysterians, none of that stuff. Indiana Jones and the War of the World, and they could have fucking like Orson Welles in there and shit. I mean,
yeah. No, well, me and Bestman Bulletin were talking yesterday. He's like, you know, do you think they'll make Indiana Jones? Do you think they'll make more? Because you know, there's that quote going around where Ford talks to Chris Pratt and it's just like, it's me, kid, it ain't you, kind of thing. Well,
yeah, I mean, if they had gone away from historical shit instead of saying, "Well, now what's Indy do after the Cold War?" Alien invasion.
But what I'm trying to say is, I'm reading between the lines.
Okay.
I think it's going to be digital Ford going forward. I think there will be more Indiana Jones, and I think it's going to be Harrison Ford. I think they may have made a deal. I think they may be developing some of that now. I'm not saying that they're going to make 15 Indiana Jones movies this year. I think that's where it's going to go. I think Harrison Ford will always be Indiana Jones. And I don't think somebody like Chris Pratt would want to be the puppeteer of the digital puppet. I don't think that they're ever going to go that way. Maybe well, I don't know. I doubt it though. But that's where I think this is going. But Bestman was saying he thinks that it should only be a TV series, like a high quality TV series. And I got to say, I love that idea more. I think serialized Indiana Jones, 45-minute adventures of him and the Raven Woods and stuff like that. And all of the stuff during World War II and shit, like all of that would be like fascinating, and you wouldn't have the commitment of a film of all of that hubbub, and you'd just be able to do the fun ideas. You could do Indiana Jones in the war. Remember the War of the Worlds movie? It starts with just like a small town being having a crash, and then and the alien stuff happens. You could like literally just have that, not have it happen everywhere else, and just do that, and it would be great. It'd be fantastic. So. Yeah, I for a second, and my working theory here is they're saying that this is it. This is going to be it. And that's, I think, to sell you the movie. But I do not if this movie does Force Awakens style money for Indiana Jones equivalent of Force Awakens money, they will be chomping at the bit in about 3 years just to get one rolling, to get that money back into their pockets. and it will happen.
Yeah.
So
out of all the names I've heard for an Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones in the World is the only one I've been like, yeah, that's it. Like,
I love the Indiana Jones and the Saucerman title. Like that is actually my favorite.
But that's not a giant
fun.
movie.
It's fun. It's fun. I want the T-shirt actually.
It's
but
what about Saucer Women? Huh?
All right, that's fair. But Lucas would give up and eventually came up with a compromise. These aliens weren't aliens at all. They were interdimensional beings, he told Spielberg, and launched into an explanation on string theory. So right here, we do have Lucas literally, I think, talking with actual experts. Out of a sense of duty to his old...
Kaku was a really close friend of mine on the production of this, and Dr. Ed Dames, he chimed in, and Bob Lazar,
Out of a sense of duty to his old friend and slightly worn down, Spielberg relented. Okay, these are interdimensional beings, he said. They're not extraterrestrial. They're interdimensional. Fine.
Well, like aliens, but we'll call them interdimensional. Yeah, they look like. Yeah.
He's like, oh I have
puppets. Really?
George, is that like interdimensional feminism I hear about all the kids talking about on Twitter?
No, we erased that.
Interdimensional feminism. Sorry, they're not extraterrestrial. They're interdimensional. Fine. What are we going to look like? Oh wait, this is you. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I said. They're interdimensional planetary, which really mashes up really well with the Ghostbusters theme. YouTube that, Jason.
You're right. You sent it to me before, and you are not wrong, George.
Really should have been on the soundtrack.
Yeah,
the last movie. Seriously, if you guys haven't listened to the Ghostbusters Interplanetary mashup,
it's fucking
go
good.
listen to it.
It's
the best mashup ever made. Like I'm like,
easily.
These fuckers did it, dude. Like, I don't know.
Well, fuck you, Huey Lewis.
Yeah.
So okay, do you want to read the George quote, or am I reading it?
There's another one.
Yeah, they're not.
Forward return.
They're not extraterrestrial at the very top of what I'm showing, if you can see it.
Oh, I thought I did that.
They're not extraterrestrial. They're interdimensional. Fine.
Yeah.
What are they going to look like?
They're not extraterrestrial. They're interdimensional. Fine. What are they going to look? George said, yeah, well, they're like aliens, but we'll call them interdimensional.
Okay.
I heard that, Jason.
Sorry. Ford returned as Indiana Jones at the age of 64, attempting to stop the Russians getting their hands on a crystal skull so they can control the world's populace telepathically.
So stupid.
No, it's not. That's completely smart, because that was the fear of the Red Scare, was that they were going to control you. I know,
but telepathic control of people on a piece of paper.
It starts with the Atomic Cafe, which is a great documentary.
The nuclear weapon you can draw, a spaceship. The Russians get in a spaceship. You know what I mean? Like, so they could fucking start a war or whatever. That you can draw on the Russians trying to take control of people telepathically. It's just, I don't know.
But what ends up happening is it ends up being their like destruction at the end. Remember how it pays off at the end. She tries to do it. She can't. She can't connect. Well, actually, that was a big thing. The Russians, like RT Times, that fucking propagandist Russian, English publication, they were going and running articles talking about how this movie's terrible and don't see it and boycott it and all kinds of shit. And there's a couple of well-respected ufologists, as they like to call themselves, who quote the RT Times so much I question where they're really from. For all of the people who are always like everything's a government plant, well, works both ways. Anyways, every precaution was taken to prevent leaks. When he was asked to play Indy's old buddy Mac, Ray Winstone, is that Winston or Winstone? Winstone insisted on Winstone on seeing a script. And I like that guy too. He was good.
Beowulf.
The production eventually allowed them to, but only by sending a member of the staff from America bearing a single hard copy to his house. Winstone then had a couple of hours to read the script once, with the courier sitting in the room. As soon as Winston was finished, the courier left with the script and headed straight for the airport. Despite Spielberg's disquiet, the shoot went smoothly. But there was one thing the production couldn't control. The build-up to the release of Crystal Skull saw one of the earlier examples of fans swapping scraps of information and homebrewed theories about a film's plot on the internet long before it actually arrived, with a leak of detail on what Crystal Skull would actually entail. The film's tie-in Lego sets, released well in advance to the film itself, became oracles of what fans would expect. Yeah, that was me. I was doing that. I was doing that on the internet, and I was taking all of the products and the leaks and putting it together and debunking stuff and everything like that. I remember a lot of the old prequel crew were shitting on me for it, but I'm like, this is how you do it. And boy, did it pay off when we got to the next Star Wars trilogy. Every tiny plastic piece was scrutinized and discussed at length, though the river chase and jungle cutter scenes revealed little other than that snakes would make their usual appearance and that they'd aided and abetted by giant ants. A third set, but see what that did was it confirmed that the ant sequence was actually in fact real, and then gave a whole bunch more leaks validity. You know, ants crawling up out of the hill into the guy's face. You don't just really make that up and it happens by coincidence. You know. A third set based on the climax of the Mayan temple was more helpful. Despite the attempts to keep things secret, fans worked out early on that the mini figurines, which looked like translucent skeletons, were aliens, and that the telltale Lego scowl on Kate Blanchett's figurines meant she could turn out to be a villain. Spielberg was...
To be fair, Jason, my original idea for the script was Indiana Jones and the Shrinking Ray. And he was going to have a family, and they were going to get shrunk down. But Steven decided to make that movie in the 80s with the guy I sent to college. And I didn't appreciate it. You know, I didn't appreciate it. So
that guy's third Jurassic Park movie is better than Spielberg's second one.
Oh, it's better than all the Jurassic Park movies since Jurassic Park, to be honest with you. So.
I actually want to watch that again. When
the only problem with that movie, which I loved when it came out, by the way, was at the very end. It has this weird lost ending, and it should have had a giant that dinosaur they saw in the ocean at the beginning should have come out like Godzilla, and they should have had to fight a giant kaiju dinosaur at the end with the military. And shit. It's just some guy comes out the woods in a shirt like Lost. This is before Lost, so when I saw Lost, I was like, look, there's a weird. Why is that guy in a shirt? The ending's so fucking weird. It's like they cut the budget out. That's my only gripe. With that film.
Spielberg was upset by the early reveals, but Lucas was more philosophical. This right here, I love this part. Lucasfilm itself has often in the past said that Lucas was like their worst leaker over the years. He would leak huge parts of the movies because he just wouldn't want to talk about it because he got bored. And what's funny is I think George Lucas is one of us, to be honest with you. I'm not saying he wants his movies leaked. No one does. Steven will say, "Oh, do you want to do George for this one?"
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, so he says Steven will say. All right.
Yeah.
Steven will say, "Oh, look, everything's out on the internet. What is this? And what?" Jason, you got to scroll down, buddy. I can't.
Really?
I can't read that. Yeah, it's the logo's covering up that word.
Okay.
Friend. Yeah. So no, up. Scroll up. Scroll other way. Okay, stop. There you go. Stephen will say, "Oh, everything's out on the internet. What is this? And what that is?" And to that I say, Stephen, it doesn't make any difference. Look, Jaws was a novel before it was a movie, and anyone could see it how it ended. It didn't matter. And that's exactly my stance.
Yeah.
That when people go, "Hey, how's the Titanic end? How's every World War II movie end other than Inglourious Bastards?" You know,
right.
The same fucking way. Like, it's so ridiculous. Like, there was was I listening to about this? Oh, Chris McQuarrie talked about this. You know, he goes, "Oh, what happens if people know what's going to happen?" He's like, if your audience knows what's going to happen, it's all right. Then they're anticipating. It builds anticipation. You know, like this idea that you have to like surprise people every 3 seconds makes it even worse. And you start doing these weird hoops around the whole production and the telling of the story to try and shock people.
What the fuck?
Know? Like, what's worse, not seeing a hit coming to the nuts or knowing when a hit's coming to the nuts?
Read the caption. Can you read the caption of the image?
The caption of Harrison Ford as the archaeologist. What?
What the fuck are you guys talking about?
Look, all I'm saying is we've had someone write weird comments today, and maybe they're writing some weird comments.
Is that like when you jerk off to your grandpa's porn magazines from back in World War II or something? Archaeologist Come Adventure?
Who's All-Star?
What the fuck?
All-Star.
Yeah, All-Star. World Star!
Seems like a Filoni name, All-Star.
All-Star. Yeah, so Steven, it doesn't make any difference. Okay, so leaks kept coming, though. Get it? Actor Tyler Nelson had been cast as a Russian soldier who celebrated Jones's capture by dancing to Balakia music and was apparently so excited he gave an interview to the Edmond Sun, his hometown newspaper in Oklahoma. Apparently, the Soviet army was searching for a skull in the jungles of South America, and Indiana Jones was searching as well, Nelson said.
So then Steven can say, but we changed the movie, so it was a little different than the book, to which George should have been like, yeah, what about Jurassic Park, buddy? Like, yeah. Like, literally, it doesn't get much bigger than Jurassic Park financially, zeitgeist, toys, movies, the whole
Well, did I ever tell you why Schindler's List is not a good movie? Because you know how it ends. It's like, no, it's not. Right. It's not about that. It's about the journey. And that's the thing with these Star Wars movies and these Indiana Jones movies and with spoilers in general, is if the movie is dramatic, it doesn't matter if you know that stuff is there. It's how it plays out and the ability to repeat it, because Star Wars movies and Indiana Jones movies are rewatched over and over again. So yeah, the first time matters, but they believe their own bullshit. They believe that, oh, I didn't see, no, I am your father. I didn't see it coming, and now I'm still blown away to this day. That's not true and never was true. It was just the ability to enjoy that great moment over and over again because it was so well done.
What few people talk about was the confirmation that, because there was a lot of skepticism that Vader was even telling the truth when that came out. My uncles, I was super young, like 2, but I grew up.
We can go if it's a slow news week for the rest of the week, we'll go on to the Usenet post about that from 82 where people were talking about it.
My entire memory before Return of the Jedi was listening to my uncles argue about whether it was true.
Yeah.
So like those real formative years was all about whether Vader was telling the truth or not. And when they got confirmation he was telling the truth, they were let down. They thought it would be cooler if he was lying to him.
My experience of it before Return of the Jedi was, of course, he's his father. Everyone just said, of course he is. They wouldn't lay that out if he wasn't. And that was how the people in my life as a kid understood it. You know what I mean? But they weren't being creative. They were just being like, they wouldn't say that and do that if it wasn't going to be the thing, you know? Are you okay, son?
Yeah, but their argument.
Oh, I can't show it on the screen on the stream though. I'll see it after. Okay, is that cool? All right.
Their whole argument, because these were the nerds, right? They were literally going to Comic-Con every year. These are the Comic-Con nerds. So like, the nerds were like,
right,
but Obi-Wan wouldn't lie to him. Vader would. You know, like,
and I bought old Starlog magazines that were having this debate, like in the backs of it and stuff, and then sometimes even in the main articles. Yeah. But
as a kid, I didn't really care one way or the other. You know, like that whether he was lying or not, where he was father, I didn't really care. I was more interested in what Luke does when you find out. Like, what do you do? What do you do? You know, like, what do you do when the worst thing happens? You know?
Yeah.
Like that was always my, mental place as a 5-year-old kid. So, because I didn't have a father, and I was wondering, a biological father. It's like, who is my biological? What if my biological turned out to be Darth Vader? He's
Tyler,
a cop, but close.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Luke showing me that video again of the balloon Spider-Man. Have you seen Spider-Man? Has like a balloon and flies right up to the window. It's pretty good. But anyways, Tyler then blabbed that the Russians would blackmail Jones by threatening to kill Marion, the mother of his son Mutt, and that Blanchett, who had remained totally silent about her involvement, wouldn't tell, played an evil Russian operative. I saw Harrison Ford strapped to a chair and being interrogated, he added cheerily. The production then took a dim view, and a Supreme Court order which charged him with violating a confidentiality agreement was settled out of court. Nelson's Balakia dancing was reportedly cut from the finished film, but that dancing is in the film. I always assumed that was still him. So unless they redid it, but or there were more dancers than him. Maybe he lost his close-ups or something, you know. Anyways, though some reviews were lukewarm, Crystal Skull set a new mark for Indiana Jones at the box office with 790 million taken worldwide. That's called a success. But the moment that leapt out of Crystal Skull was one which had been floating around in the back of Spielberg's head since he'd executive produced Back to the Future. The original ending of Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis' script saw Marty McFly and Doc Brown sending Marty back to 1985, not with a lightning strike to the Hill Valley Clock Tower, but by driving the DeLorean straight into a blast zone of a nuclear bomb test and riding the explosion home. I think wasn't it putting the fridge in the nuclear blast? I don't know if it ever went to the DeLorean going there.
I remember his conversation.
Yeah,
because I listened to literally Bob Gale and Zemeckis talk about this. Like there's different takes on it.
Yeah,
one was needing the energy from it. One was the actual, because it was originally a refrigerator.
Because I read that.
So yes.
I read that draft, and I think in the draft that I read, they like drive the fridge in a truck into the blast radius, and then the blast happens.
Yeah, I think this dude just simplified that, so you didn't have to explain that the DeLorean also used to be a refrigerator. yeah. Which was, if you think about it, just a take on Doctor Who being a phone booth, right? Like,
by the way, super bummed. Like I always thought Shia LaBeouf was a fucking idiot, was like a total idiot, and I didn't know about any of the stuff until Bestman Bulletin ruined it for me. But I guess Shia LaBeouf went around killing dogs for a role. Yeah, and his girlfriend.
Yeah, I don't like the dude, man.
Now if I ever see him, I'm gonna Indiana Jones. I want to punch him in his fucking face. You know what I mean? Like he started getting all theory about it, and not turd theory, like active theory, and started method, I should say, and started like fucking supposedly killing dogs on the street. Yeah, fucking piece of
I
shit.
just didn't like him.
That's true. I don't know if it's maybe it's not true. It sounds ridiculous, but if that's fucking true, fuck that guy. You know, what a piece of shit. But yeah, I know. I also knew people that knew him when he was younger, and a lot of the stuff about him being like a homeless poor child is a lot of that's bullshit to some extent too. Like he was pretty well off, went to a really nice school. Anyways, out where the rich kids live.
Yeah, you know who was actually legitimately a poor kid with, a troubled home who got famous was Edward Furlong. That was.
I like Edward Furlong.
Got spotted at the mall. You know? And you can see he had no support system, for the longest time out there,
Yeah.
So
ended up hooking up with this like 30-year-old stunt double.
Hey,
weird, man. I mean, wrong. Yeah, I know. Like the South Park guy's like nice, but in reality, it's just
Sam Keith is like yes.
Yeah, I mean, just like the people that were ready to take advantage of that kid. And like when you look at when you think back to like that time, like the time between like River Phoenix overdosing outside of the club in Hollywood, not that long. Like that Hollywood, it's the same. You know what I mean? And they were like ready to take them right into that kid into that thing. I don't know what's up with Edward Furlong today, but I wish they would. I don't know if he's like a mess or if he's good, but if he's good, and he wants to act, I hope he gets a second chance or a third chance, whatever it is. Like, because he was good, man. He was a natural talent, I think.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the sequence would have entailed building and then destroying a nuke town, a collection of buildings in different styles and materials populated by mannequins, which was used to measure the damage a bomb could do to a typical American town. And it was dropped when an extra $1 million had to be knocked off the budget. Wait, what? That's in the movie. The sequence. Wait, what am I missing here? Do I skip something? No, the whole Doomtown thing. The sequence would have entailed building and then destroying a nuke town. Oh, it must have been a Back to the Future. They're talking about Back to the Future, destroying the Back to the Future budget. That's what it is. So it was worked into the Crystal Skull, and much remained exactly the same. The bomb dropping from a metal tower, a dash around a perfect clapperboard model home full of dummies, which I love the Doomtown sequence, by the way. Also, great Wipers song. If you like punk, you don't ever listen to the Wipers, listen to the Wipers. Check out Doomtown. A montage of plastic people melting horrifically as the bomb's fireball engulfs the town. The payoff, though, was that Jones would survive a multi-megaton nuclear bomb and the temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun by clambering into an empty lead-lined fridge, which is what they told us to do. If I don't know if I'm right on that cutoff. We had to do nuclear drills as a kid, and that shit came up. They said if you ever see one of those old refrigerators, climb into it, but don't climb into it on the street because you'll suffocate and die. We got told two competing radically insane ideas at the same time as children. So when the film came out, critics and fans were quick to point out.
Now they tell you life's short, you die.
You know? Yeah, I mean, I'm of the mindset that if a nuclear war happens, I don't want to live. I want
wear
to
a clear backpack. You know.
Yeah. Fuck all of that shit. I would rather die than live in that reality. When the film came out, critics and fans were quick to point out that even if Indy had managed to avoid being vaporized by the blast, he'd probably have struggled to avoid being turned into mush when the fridge was thrown hundreds of meters away from the explosion. It's like here, and this is where we have the fucking generation of film goers who require us to see fucking Batman go to ninja school so they can believe in Batman. You guys suck. Learn how to dream a little bit. Soon the phrase nuking the fridge had overtaken jumping the shark as a way of describing something collapsing under the weight of its own ludicrousness. I'm proud of that, Spielberg said. I'm glad I was able to bring that into popular culture. Spielberg tried to shield Lucas from blame for the scene, but Lucas told the New York Times that it was the other way around. Spielberg wasn't sure, but Lucas liked it so much he compiled a 6-inch thick dossier of evidence that Indy wouldn't have been carbonized or pulverized.
I'll say, let me get the thing up. It's hilarious. The odds of surviving that refrigerator from a lot of scientists are about 50-50. Yeah.
Lucas insisted. That's a Lucas doing a Trump. A lot of people are saying.
Scientists say
I got a big dick.
You know,
a lot of people
I also
are
got
saying
this really cool lucid dreaming goggle set from Omni magazine, Jason.
Oh man,
it really works. Really works.
You know, William S. Burroughs gave one of those to Kurt Cobain right before his suicide, and conspiracy theorists think it may have led to his death. It's ridiculous, but it's fine.
It also works with Zaxxon 3D on my master.
After a drawn out birth, there was a drawn out aftermath to Crystal Skull 2. Spielberg admitted to being less than thrilled with the way it panned out. There were big arguments between the two friends about the crystal skulls and their powers, he later said.
You know who should have had to settle that argument? Spielberg on the left, Lucas on the right, and in the center is Dan Aykroyd. Because he's part scientist, part actor, and director.
Yeah.
and directed the movie once.
This movie also ended the relationship with Darabont, too. They used some of his ideas in the scripts, and then he felt ripped off. I honestly read his script and it wasn't great anyways. So I love Darabont, but I'm not a Darabont apologist on that one. And it's the way it works when you do scripts for hire.
My favorite movie of all time, or second favorite, was Shawshank Redemption. It's a masterpiece. Yeah, let's just be honest. Sure. But I'm going to be honest. Since then, I could care less. I'm not a Green Mile guy. I'm not a Miss dude. I don't care for The Walking Dead. I chalk it up to just nailed it right out the park.
I liked this adaptation of The Mist, so that was pretty good. But
what my thing? I'm not a Thomas Jane dude.
Gotcha. I didn't want these things to be either aliens or interdimensional beings, he said. But I'm loyal to my best friend. When he writes a story he believes in, even if I don't believe in it, I'm going to shoot the movie the way George envisaged it. What the fuck is that word?
That spell check didn't catch it. But so what did he want it to be though?
I
wanted it to be commies. Like I don't know, like
yeah. Well, I mean, and one of the things that hasn't been, I don't know if it's hit on in this piece yet or will be, But yeah, originally it had Nazis in it, and then he's like, I don't want Nazis. I don't want to do cartoon Nazis. And I respect his feelings on that, you know, like where he's coming
This
from
is
after
like the
Schindler's
thing
List and
that
stuff. But
I'm 90% certain isn't happening, you know, in the next Indy movie. But for me, Indiana Jones, if you're not going to do War of the Worlds, Indiana Jones tracking down Nazis in Argentina, you know, who fled the Third Reich, to me is the fucking movie I want.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's to gut them and brutalize them and shit. Just that he'd
Yeah.
be part of this team. And then he finds, like, maybe they got a UFO ship or something. You know, like, there's another thing you could do out there. You know,
that's
like,
yeah, that's the thing is this is Indy versus the Nazis to some extent, at least to some extent. And I got a feeling that may have been a reason that he was stepping away at some point, because the idea probably needed this thing, and Spielberg was probably holding it back with his caveats about what couldn't happen. And
the only other relic that Indiana Jones, in my opinion, could ever look for in a movie worth fucking, oh, that's a thing to go after, would be the monolith from 2001.
Yeah.
You know, like Indiana Jones and the monolith.
Yeah, you said that before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I also told the story about how I was like really drunk. My friend was driving. We were like leaving a party or something, and we passed by the giant bus stop ad for the movie with Indy running from these guys in the picture below. And I fucking did a fucking karate kick to the thing, and it just fucking popped open. I was like, oh my God, it worked. And I pulled the poster out. I had this giant bus stop size Indiana Jones on my wall for a long time.
This shot, by the way, is such an Imagine Effects or Cinefex. Sorry, it's just Cinefex shot, right? Like you open that up, you know, it'd be like, Indiana Jones invites you to Oscars. You know, it's all them in there and shit, you know.
Yeah.
Like, what does this have to do with this digital replacement background? You're like, it's a lot of people. All right.
The crystal skulls were causing headaches after the film came out. They're said by some to be ancient artifacts made by Mayan communities, though recent examinations have shown them to be 20th century hoaxes. Last podcast on the left has a really good thing about that. And they also have a good interview with Dan Aykroyd, by the way, if you've never heard it.
I told you should be right in the center.
But one academic from Belize took issue with the film co-opting them. Yeah, I would say that Dan Aykroyd having taken over the Marcus Brody role early on would have been a wise way to have taken it and let him have been a part of the weird creation of the ideas.
Temple of Doom. People don't remember that.
I remember, yeah. And I'm saying, but his role was just like, you know, I don't know if he's setting Indy up or if he's just booking him, but it's just a cameo. It's, you know,
you don't need that Windstone, dude. You could have got Aykroyd, you know.
In 2012, Dr. Jamie Ah, an expert in Mayan culture and archaeology who taught at the universities in Canada and the United States, filed a lawsuit against Lucasfilm, Disney, and Paramount Pictures because, in his view, Hollywood was exploiting Belizean culture for illegal profits. The crystal skulls of Crystal Skull were, he thought, designed after a skull found in Belize in 1924 by English adventurer Mitchell Hedges. What so fucking what? What a fucking
all
asshole.
They do is this sort of frivolous law. It's just the problem with our cultures. We don't have a frivolous lawsuit problem solution here.
Yeah.
The problem with this sort of shit is then you open up the door for people, for the haters out there to go, well, why does Hollywood only tell stories about European-centric culture and white people culture and not enough about ours? And then when they do, they go, they're co-opting our shit. Like, it's like, I don't know what the fuck you want. You know, like,
yeah.
So it's really frustrating sometimes, Jason. It's like, get people to be representative. I get it. You know, I don't want fucking, you know, to make this never happened, but you don't want Steve Buscemi running around, you know what I mean, Aboriginal gear, you know, like.
Well, when I was in anthropology, there was a lot of there'd be like a lot of criticisms of Indiana Jones and how it's not real and that kind of thing. But the one thing that every archaeologist I ever spoke to and knew was that at the end of the day, Indiana Jones brought people into anthropology.
Piece of shit if it's real. It's a pulp fucking thing.
But in
Karate Kid ain't real.
That it was better. It was better for archaeology than it was, you know, bad. Like, people weren't going and becoming archaeologists and going and like destroying tombs. That's not a thing that has ever happened. because
none of the
Indiana
shit
Jones.
Jackie Chan does in any of his police story movies is ever going to work in real life. It took 700 takes to get those shots. Like,
you fucking sure about that? Because I listened to that Ash song. That Ash song really leads me to believe that Jackie Chan could do anything.
I am of the mind that he invented parkour, by the way.
That's fair. Lucasfilm, by the way, Lucasfilm does not have a capital F in it. Lucasfilm never sought nor was given permission to utilize the Mitchell Hedges skull or its likeness in the film, the lawsuit said, which it doesn't. Driven by its success in theaters, both Lucasfilm and Paramount continued to profit from the continued distribution of the film. Why is film capitalized? On home media and online video sources. To date, Belize has not participated in any of the profits derived from the sale of the film. It's weird to capitalize film, nor the rights thereto. The suit was eventually dismissed.
Yeah,
so
shocking.
Yeah, because it's fucking stupid. And it's a fucking alien skull. The Mitchell Hedges skull is not even in the movie, is it? I don't even think it's in the movie. I think it's always those like weird fucking interdimensional being skulls. Even if he was unhappy, Spielberg expected his cast to stay on message. Shia LaBeouf, who played Indy's greaser son, Mutt, which I have, by the way, theorized, does he hate being Mutt so much he killed those dogs? I mean, think about it, right? Self-hatred kind of thing. I'm just throwing it out there. Little armchair psychology. Did exactly the opposite in an LA Times interview at Cannes in 2010. We, Harrison Ford and LaBeouf, had major discussions. He wasn't happy with it either. Look, the movie could have been updated. There was a reason it wasn't universally accepted. He actually says worse stuff. I think he says some worse stuff too. He goes on to say, we dropped the ball. He was particularly critical of a sequence in which Mutt swings on vines, though through the jungle canopy with dozens of monkeys. I think he's a genius.
Chewbacca did it.
And he's given me my whole life. He's done so much great work that there's no need for him to feel vulnerable about one film. But when you drop the ball, you drop the ball. There it is. Good work, Yahoo, on finding that. Almost done, baby. And there's Kate Blanchett.
Yeah, sometimes you shoot dogs to prepare for a role in this movie, Jason.
I like how. Oh yeah, that was the rumor that we couldn't remember the other day, Lucas. It was that somebody was playing the girl from Rebels who's based off of her, and they were saying it was Black Widow, which doesn't make any sense.
Oh, yeah.
You know why? Because they both have Russian accents. Or whatever
Marsha
the accents
wore
are supposed to be.
Wig for me once. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm kind of into it.
Yeah, I like it.
It's fun.
Remember when Swing Out
George,
Sister.
George, did you ever see when Natalie Portman wore like that colorful one in Closer?
Oh yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, I had a private screening with Marty and Terrence Stamp. We all watched that together.
And you had Tina Turner sing Private Dancer. LaBeouf's disinclination to defend the film irked Spielberg. He told me there's a time to be a human being and have an opinion, and there's a time to sell cars. LaBeouf later said, "It brought me freedom, but it also killed my spirits because this was a dude I looked up to as a sensei. The director he found was less a director than he is a fucking company." What? Wait, what?
Yeah. I'm really thinking LaBeouf should have been in Cobra Kai.
Did he really? Wait, it brought me freedom, but it also killed my spirits because this was a dude I looked up to like a sensei. The director he found was less a director than he's a fucking company, LaBeouf said. Damn, man. LaBeouf's a fucking maniac. He needs to get the shit.
He's a psychotic individual, bro. Like, yeah, I'm not even like the time he pulled up to someone and he's doing the stare down. I'm like, yeah, you did that shit in a town with gun laws. Mm-hmm. Pull that shit off in fucking Phoenix. You know what I mean? And then all that tough guy shit goes right out the fucking window.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's ridiculous, dude.
So even try it.
Dude.
Yeah. Try it in a different neighborhood in Southern California.
I know a few.
Yeah. Ford sided with Spielberg and let LaBeouf know it. I think he's a fucking idiot. Ford told Details in 2011. As an actor, I think it's my obligation to support the film without making a complete ass of myself.
You think Ford can laugh like Beavis and Butthead?
LaBeouf was unrepentant. I remember only the penitent man will pass. I remember Spielberg saying to me, Tom Cruise never picks his nose in public. LaBeouf told in an interview.
Yeah, well, he digs for gold on set, though.
And
it's
all I thought
ridiculous.
was, I don't want to be Tom Cruise. See, like, there's like parts of LaBeouf where I'm like, cool, man. Like where he seems like he could be cool. But then you get into that other shit and he's beating up his girlfriend and killing dogs, and you're just like, you know what? No, you're a maniac.
Well, there's
Ford,
that punk side of you, Jason.
sure.
I don't. I mean, I won't say I don't have it because it's part of our generation, right? It's more like isolationism.
Yeah.
And I get if LaBeouf wanted to be more of an isolationist, right? Like he just wanted to do his roles, step away, doesn't really care what people think. I get all that.
Yeah.
The problem is you got a guy out there being a voice for something that has 1,000 other people attached to it. It's why I don't do interviews for like games and shit I worked on. People are like, you want to do a game? No, because then I become the voice for 100 other people who worked on something. It's not fair. They're not. I don't think they should be speaking for me. I think the people who were in charge of those projects should be the ones speaking because they were in charge of the projects.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the other side of it too is when you shit talk a project that you were involved in. Like you said, it makes you the mouthpiece of the whole project. But now you're making it sound like you're invalidating it, and you're invalidating the work of your peers at the same time, which isn't your job as an actor. That's a job for critics, fans, and the culture to work out, not you if you participated in it. But LaBeouf, yeah, so he doesn't want to be Tom Cruise. Ford was steadfast. Ford has steadfastly refused to pick his nose over Crystal Skull, though a short snort when the film came up in Vanity Fair interview perhaps said more than he meant to. I really enjoyed each of the films and the different experiences I had in each of the films, he said diplomatically, and the people that I worked with. And it's like, and it's strange because there is even a bit of that with Indiana Jones 3, with where they basically are saying we're coming back to make this one because I dropped the ball on Temple of Doom. Like there are times when they said as much themselves and they didn't feel, and then they would go, and then they ended up coming up with the narrative that we were both going through divorces, and that's why.
They all trash talked that movie when I was a kid.
Yeah,
and that's what the parents of like my girlfriend, they were religious crazy Trumpers now, right? But at the time they were like Rush Limbaugh dudes, family and shit. But they liked the Indiana Jones because it's got all that Judeo-Christian shit in there. Yeah. And so they love Last Crusade. It was because they apologized for Temple of Doom, horrific film. And I'm looking at them like, you know what I mean? Like, you want to talk about horrific? You want to go there? It's ridiculous. But they did. They opened it up. They talked a lot of shit. Lucas, don't worry about it.
There's a really, really good UFO documentary about the Zimbabwe alien UFO landing to the kids called the aerial phenomenon. Is what it's called. And in it, there is a moment where there's a Canadian girl whose parents came to Zimbabwe to be Christian missionaries. The UFO lands, the little girl sees it, can't stop talking about it. The parents literally take her from Zimbabwe back to Canada because they cannot compute it with their religious beliefs. They just can't. They can't reconcile it. Which I find weird because you could totally reconcile any religion with any of that stuff easily, I think. But they couldn't. And but it's funny because Indiana Jones fans, a lot of them were the same way, where they're just like, I I see him as a Christian archaeologist or something, and it's just like, the Sankara stones. I don't know. I personally find interdimensional beings more realistic than Sankara stones. Just me though.
Right, but at the heart of that movie,
but I don't care. I like it all. I love it all. It's all fun to me.
It's a mystery in a castle. It's you know what I mean? It's a ghost story in a castle. It's people who are being. That fucking movie, man, I don't know how people miss it. I really don't. Like, it's like that whole dinner scene, which is an homage to... It's a play off the dinner scene in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. When they go to Nemo... In 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, they go into Nemo's cabin, and Nemo has all this stuff from the sea, and it's weird and shit, so they're being wigged out.
Yeah.
In Temple of Doom, it's fucking this crazy as shit's eyeballs and snakes and shit. And so people were like, oh, this is white guys trying to say Indians eat this. And it's like, no... These are people who are drinking the blood. Later on in the movie, you find out they're all worshiping Kali Ma, and they're all drinking blood to be in the cult.
Yeah.
These people all at the dinner table are in a blood worshiping cult. You know, like they're not eating. The food is a warning that that's not real food. There's fruit and other shit in the house because I imagine they have servants that aren't in the cult, right? Or they have regular food for, you know, when the army guy shows up, the colonizers show up, is it because they're not in the cult. But these motherfuckers are in a cult. It's just so weird. It's not told well, that stuff. It's told kind of backwards in some way, you know, to make it more of a mystery. And so that's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if Spielberg is a good mystery guy. Same with JJ. I don't think they're very good at mysteries.
When I was in undergrad in American Studies, I had to do like kind of like one of those lame assignments where like analyze the film and find the key terms of what we've been talking about in the class, right? And one of the things that I ended up writing about was how, in a weird way, the opening to Temple of Doom is sort of white facing the Asian culture, like with all of the dancers and stuff. You could go back and you could flip it around and you could say those were Willie's dancers and they were from America. Where some of the dancers supposed to be Asian in there, it's a little bit, you know, but I think that's sort of like the idea, but it's also such a fantasy. Like that room doesn't exist in any of that stuff or whatever.
It's an American styled club in the middle of a town that's filled with, it's in China, it's in Shanghai, right? So like it's an American club in a place that is, what they got regular clubs across the street. There's a million Asian dancers. They're going to the one place that's American, you know, because that's what, you know, it sells Americana. Like, I don't know, man. Like, well, that is a thing. Like, to the point where,
I don't. Like I said, the whole opening dance number thing isn't even realistic, though. It's literally, it's an opening of a movie. It's totally outside of the geography of the scene. You know what I'm saying?
It's as realistic as like, Miss Piggy's in a little pool, and all of a sudden she's around 7 million other swimmers, and you know what I mean? She's not really
that huge room in Elstree does not exist in that little club. We saw the club from the outside. It just doesn't even make sense. None of it does. But anyways, a few years later, when I'm a grad student, my internship is at USC for the American Quarterly, and I'm having to read submissions for the academic journal. And like sort of like categorize them as, you know, okay, good, you know, definitely don't bother with, because, you know, the actual academics who are on the board, they can't read everything, so you kind of sift through the shit, right? And one of the ones I got was actually, I wanted to say their name obviously, but was from a big scholar writing all about that very moment, and it was complete, but everything was completely wrong about it from at the end of the day. And so I had to write this really, really prominent scholar and say, hey, just so you know, like, you're reading this wrong and here's why. And then I actually got like a really nice message back from that person, which was nice. Though they were super cool.
These are the same people that like to go back and say that Big Trouble in Little China is, you know, abusing Asian culture, satirizing Asian culture. And it's just like, bro, what movie was putting that many fucking Asian actors and treating this mythology in a genre way, realistically, with some level of seriousness? You know, like the only in the film is the white guy.
I haven't watched it in a very long time, so I'm not going to die on a hill about it one way or the other at this moment. But the one thing about Indiana Jones I will say is Indiana Jones continually teaches against being ethnocentric, which is thinking that your culture is better than somebody else's, that one culture is superior in some way. And even in Temple of Doom, that's where he's like, they're offering you food, this, you know, you eat it, and she's like, oh, it's beneath me because it's bad food to her, and he's just like, no, you eat it, you know. Like Indiana Jones is he's I think more of a model for on the positive side of it. The one thing that is legit. So here's the thing about that though, Rob, is I think the book is called Epic Encounters by Melanie McAllister, and in that, I think it's that one, and in that one she lays out exactly how like the Middle East during the Cold War was set up in pop culture to be pilfered for the oil and stuff like that. Like it lays it all out in a very convincing way, and with actual evidence about how like they were asked to depict, you know, Iran in certain ways and shit like that. And so like those things do happen, but they didn't happen on the Indiana Jones movies. You know,
I don't think John Carpenter was sitting down trying to pilfer China when he made Big Trouble. It's a giant.
No, that was
so.
later,
I just people you gotta. I get that people can manipulate tall tales to suit whatever ill gains they have, you know,
Yeah.
out there. And you got to be on the watch when you're watching something. And is this really, you know, harmless entertainment to not, I don't have a better term for this, right? Versus someone who's trying to, like, you know, set up, yeah, we should go and turn this whole fucking Middle East to glass, blah, 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 kind of bullshit. You know, I get all that.
Yeah.
But
Iron Eagle, part of it.
right, but there was so much shit in the 80s that legitimately fucking was like, yeah, like Iron Eagle. I like Iron Eagle, but let's be honest, you know?
Yeah,
like,
I like it. I like it too. But it does that.
Yeah. You know, Chappie should have was like, I'd led these kids into battle, and it was called Vietnam, and they were fucking bloods and guts. I'm not doing, I don't know, man. Like, it's so weird. But what I wonder too, man, you know, like, I get, I consider myself, I always have since I was a kid, a New Deal Democrat kind of guy, right? Like, I believe in a social contract.
Social safety net is important,
right?
That's the one thing that neoliberalism worked to deconstruct over the last years that I think needs to be there. Yeah.
I lived with my grandfather who had a pension from the military, but everyone around him didn't. All of his friends didn't, you know, and I saw how they were living in their 70s, their 60s, but they looked like they were 80 something because, you know, they drank and smoked for 40 years.
Yeah. But, did I tell you about that? There's like a video going around called Did People Used to Look Older? And it like lays out about how smoking and like how, and it shows like real photos of people that are like, yeah, 24 and they look like they're like my age. Like back then I'd be like, yeah, I'm 24.
Like 30 years because of the smoking, you know, like it was crazy. So I get all that. The problem I have is like, what do you think? I always tell someone who's trying to like, who's trying to say everything you ever liked as a kid is wrong and evil or has some hidden agenda, you know? It's very cute.
He's very happy with himself. All right.
I'm like, just give it 20 years, you know, when it's your turn in the barrel. Like, what do you think? Like right now, all the kids who grew up with Harry Potter are now like, oh shit, you know? Like, the person behind it. Now that's a person with legitimate opinions. That's not like I'm reading the film. Now you could read the film, and I did when it came out. I'm like, why are the goblins Jewish? Like, this is so fucked up, dude.
It does.
Like,
it does play a bit.
I sat, and I shit you not, I sat it right in the theater, you know, like the screening we went to with kids. I'm like, why are the goblins all running banks and they look like little Jews, dude? This is ridiculous. Like,
yeah,
you know, like,
yeah. Or we shouldn't say they look like little Jews. They look like
the
terrible depictions
German
of Jews. Yeah,
depictions of Jews in World War II. When I say that, I'm just in my head, I'm seeing the fucking drawings, you know. Yeah. So like it's so fucking ridiculous. I get all that, but what they're gonna do now is, and you're already seeing it, is you're seeing now like the idea that, oh, imagination culture is what's ruining society because we need to live in a place of realism, and you know, like video games and comic books are making people weak, and we need strong. It's a strong man. It's really just a path to Putin like fascism, where the idea that if you wheel a guy out in his fucking, you wheel out your military, you know, in their bare chest and they all got muscles, like that's not going to mean anything to a fucking bullet, bro. Like, you know.
Well, when they do that, see, the gotta think about it is like I don't really think that, I don't for a second believe in that there's a lot of sincerity behind what that guy was saying in Belize. I don't think he was sincere. If he's out there and wants to come on and tell me how sincere he is, he's welcome to come on. I don't. Yeah, I know. I think what it is that I think that they're most likely, if you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, there is legitimate pilfering that is happening to his culture, and that was a way to shine a light on that. But it's ultimately misguided, because what ends up happening is we hear that, then we just shut down and go, "You're full of shit," and we don't listen to any of the rest of it. And that's where it's not the way. That's not how you do it. You know what I mean? Right. That's not the way to get attention to something that might deserve attention. But Nikki says, Andor released a new image equals slow news day. That's how
Andor
pretty much that's what I said. It's going to be a slow week until we get that, until like a trailer hits or something. But I'm still
Andor haters.
I think
if it were Kenobi, you would have been flipping out. Yeah.
Okay, wait. So we're
Tales of the Jedi, we'd be staring at it for
All right, this is interesting. Well, we need to talk after the show. I need to look and see what this is. See, this might be something very interesting that may alleviate the slow news week, but you never know. Well, we did it
because there's no lightsabers in Andor. It's lightsaber bias.
Yeah. But Nikki, I hope I was able to make you mad today. If I didn't, tomorrow, come hang out with us and I'll make you mad tomorrow. I promise. And yeah. So anyway, okay, we got one last Luke message. Ahsoka and the Mystery of the Cheese. Is that the first episode title? Are you leaking that? He's leaking that. He's leaking the first title. All right, everyone. I need to talk to Rob about something because it could be something cool. I don't know yet. We'll have to analyze it and break it down. That's the way it works here. But we did do our 2 hours. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And yeah, be cool and stay in school and all that jazz.
Wait, Jason, I just wanted to let you, on a serious note, Wally Cleaver died.
He did.
Yeah.
But we're more of an Eddie Haskell podcast over here, George. So
I always thought we bared a resemblance.
I said one last message.
Yeah, one. Okay, one last.
Teeth, but we had similar hair.
It hasn't appeared yet.
Okay, there we go. Mando and the Idiot Baby. All right, all right.
We got a future on YouTube, kid.
We got a future Mike Porter over here. Mike Porter's dad joke of the day. I think we got our own. We got our own forming. All right, everyone. Thanks again. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, Rob.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
You know you should go.
Come on, let's go. It's not about spaceships. Hey!